So this where y'all been hot. What's up, y'all? So it's finally Peace Studio 2024. Literally, I didn't take as long as last time. Like, it's only a month later. So yeah, we're rolling it out. We're rolling it out because I did not want to take a whole year like last time with Peace Studio 2023. But anyways, Peace Studio 2024 is finally here. It's a little bit different, mostly the same, but some slight differences this year around. But I still had a great time. Met some amazing people. Got to see some familiar faces. Some returning people, and that was good to see them after a long time. So yeah, but in this time, I would say we did the same thing, movement exercises. You'll see my little intro of the day one. So yeah, did the movement exercises, different workshops, some really valuable information for those workshops for like artists, all artists basically. So, you know, definitely take advantage of that information. And also, at the end, you see some very talented people performing and showing off their talents. Like, and this one was really like everybody was going off. Basically, everybody was going off. Like, I don't know how many people performed, but it was, yeah. But anyways, yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this time. This might be a not two-part, a three-part or a two-part. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, I hope y'all enjoy it. Alright, y'all, so I think y'all know where I'm at again. Today is day one of Peace Studio 2024, and you already know I'm bringing the movie back, the vlog, and all that good stuff.
Like just like what are kind of like the ways that we want to operate in this space. Practice. I want you, as you're going through the next couple of days, like recognize that what the studio team has done is we've created an artwork that you're activating. So please use this in practice, and this is also the same too as like Pi and others that you get to see them like. First, you usually start as like your own practice as an artist, but as you start to grow, you want to be able to grow your field in collaboration. So then you start making opportunities for other artists. That looks like nonprofit development or different things. So just kind of notice that some of these people that as they're moving up, they're then creating the space for others to then come into the fold.
I'm loving how some of you are holding up your hands for multiple art forms, because I really believe that like once you get to a point in your art making, you'll be able to see that what you've learned, right, the composition techniques, the skill set is applicable across art media. And so I feel like personally that we tend to silo art forms a lot, and more there's a blending. And it's not so much that that's like a new thing, it's just that for some reason those that came before us were very set on creating labels and boundaries that we needed to stay between. And now I believe that we're moving in this direction of reciprocity, of consilience, which is this idea that there's sort of there's a unity between different fields, whether that's art and science, or even between art forms like dance and film. Like, there's such a marriage between dance and film because of their connection to time and to perspective. Let me ask you another question. When was the last time you were inspired? Last week? Yesterday? Last night? Yeah? I would encourage you to try and turn inspiration into a practice. Yeah, like try and find inspiration every day. Almost as if it's an exercise. Yeah, we tend to think about creativity and inspiration and ideation and conceptualizing something as like if the muse hits, it hits, and if it doesn't, then you have I just want to kind of open up today's workshop with this idea that you can be inspired by literally
He's like jumping up and down, and I was like, this is too much. But it was really nice to get myself out. Like, oh, like, I tried my best to do what I could, but then my mind like that I don't have to. So I just
particularly, and it was also like I personally saw what was happening in my brain, what I could do, and then I made sure I focused on repetitive movement and then speed up gradually and then slow down gradually. So like if I was like working with a team, making sure they know exactly what movement where we're going and not like switching it up all place, just adjust the speed and then bring it back down, you know, for the next time. So I really try to focus on that.
excellent. Can we try this one more time?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start with a different leader this time. So music in this case was a stimulus that allowed you to think more expansively about what you were doing. Maybe it gave you more of a focus, yeah? But I personally believe that dance and music exist independent of each other. Yeah, I'm a choreographer that does not start with music when I'm creating a work. I start with the concept. I start with the people in the room. I start with I'll start with a poem before I start with music. Yeah, because a lot of choreographers tend to lean on the music and to just be an interpreter of the sound they hear, which in my opinion then makes dance subservient to the sound. Like I can look at it and I can be like, okay, there's this, or there's this, or maybe I'm thinking about the negative space rather than the space of the tree itself. Yeah, but also like you could photograph this tree and read it from left to right. You know, all you have to do is create a set of rules for yourself. Yeah, what does it mean when you know, like which branch am I looking at? Am I only looking at the tallest branch, or am I looking at the lowest? Yeah, it's all just a game. Yeah, but you have to keep the fidelity of the game. Yeah, have you ever played a board game where folks that are playing the board game with you start bending the rules? The game goes nowhere because you're no longer keeping to the rules that you agreed upon. Yeah, that's called a methodology.
Alright, yo, so we just finished the movement thing, the movement exercises at the park. It was dope. I ain't gonna lie, it was really funny. But I don't know, it's because it's like I ain't used to doing all that in front of people. But still, it was dope. I didn't get a chance to, of course, record the whole thing of everybody doing it because I mean I was participating in it too. But yeah, it was cool. It was a vibe. Now we headed back to this museum, green space. Yeah.
So Naja Moon is an amazing person within our community. I'm very thankful to have known her and to be a part of everything you do. She had a piece, a sculptural piece at the Bath Museum, Public Art, which was a beautiful, amazing piece. I've known you through also being a teacher as well at New World, hanging out there, having conversations. We met through Misael and some projects that they were doing. So it's just a wonderful experience to know you and to be a part of your life and see what you do in our world.
See, I just wanted somebody else to pat me on the back a little bit before I said anything. Thank you for that. My name is Naja. I'm originally from Durham, North Carolina. I've been living in Miami for almost 15 years now. What'd you say? I can claim it now. 15 is like, it's home. I'm a hooper. Okay, we got some ballers in the room. My mother is a musician. My father is a musician. And I feel like these are all kind of things that color the way I look at the world. And maybe don't show up in my art practice directly, but it's definitely a part of my lens. I don't know if you want to introduce Lauren.
So Lauren is another amazing artist that we do have in our community as a teacher. And teacher, active artist, activist as well, speaking on everything that does with the environment. They also had an amazing exhibition at the Bakehouse where they did have a studio. It was a huge piece that was made with clay, I believe it was. It was like 8 feet long and I think 4 feet tall. It was a huge thing that a whole lot of people had helped out with and she brought the community in to just work on, and it was a beautiful piece. We have some photos of it here as well.
Thank you. I've been here about 12 years, so almost there, almost to Miami, but I was born in South Florida, Broward County specifically, and I moved down here for grad school at UM. I did a Master of Fine Arts in Ceramics, so I've been through the academic grindstone, the institution, and then when I got out, I decided I wanted to do my own thing, and now we both also have studios at the Bakehouse Art Complex in Wynwood, so if you've been by there, you may have seen us. And I had a teaching career for a while, and now I'm full-time making my work. I do public art sculptures as well as ceramic objects and installations, and we'll get into that a little bit more.
Thank you both for coming in here and joining us today. So we want to talk a little bit about how you let your artwork be guided by yourself, like who you are as a person and how and what that means for different body of works that you make and the communities that you were relating to as well.
I always like to kind of start off with a bit of an origin story so we can kind of give you our background. Sometimes when you're young and you're getting started, you're like, how do I get from here to there? And it feels like this massive cavern, right? But really it's about building bridges and piece by piece, step by step, and having people help you along the way and leveraging your community. And these are all things I feel that I've done to help me get where I am now, to making large-scale public artworks and working as a professional artist. I did my education in ceramics where I learned everything about ceramics, and from there I was teaching as part of a way to supplement my income and stay in the arts while still making my work. And in grad school I was studying slip casting. I don't know if you know what that is, but they're molds where you make multiples, right? And I'm really interested in systems in general, natural systems, all kinds of systems, what holds us together, what causes things to fall apart. And when I got out, I wanted to be a little bit more active in the art scene, and to really do that, you kind of have to have a purpose, right? And growing up in the exotic town of Coral Springs, if anyone's ever been to that suburb, there's a lot of lawns, a lot of car dealerships, a lot of Publixes, a lot of strip malls. And then you've got this Sawgrass Expressway that cuts across, and on the other side is the Everglades. And there's no way in. You have to kind of go down all the way to Miami to get in. And I always thought that was kind of weird, right? Like why are we so separated from these wild spaces? Why are we creating these artificial environments that are almost sterile?
I think maybe to kind of piggyback on the format that you just took, I did not go to art school. I have not been to grad school. I'm not trained in any particular practice, but I think that I am an artist as an identity, and so to speak on identity. And so the way I solve problems is by making art. The way that I communicate with people is by making art. The way I foster community is by making art. And so I think my route to getting to, I'm not gonna call it a sustainable career, but it's what I do with my life, is my route was just in collectivizing people and putting performances together, and a lot of collaborative, communal exercises that I didn't understand as art. It was just kind of like, this is what I do with my life. And as I started to, I guess, the line between this is just what I do and the capital A art world, as that line blurred, I started to learn more of the language of that space. And that was kind of my introduction into applying for grants, applying for public art opportunities. But it came, I learned those things after I just learned how to do what felt naturally to me. It's like, how do I get the crew together and make fun things? That's it.
I also want to ask, is there a key thing that keeps you guys making art, keep you talking, and what would that be?
I mean, I think it's more of the same, but also like thinking about Lauren, I'm like, to my point about artists kind of being like the way that we solve problems, I think Lauren is a scientist, and I think that art is the way that she does her research. And so I think that can be said about a lot of different practices. I think that, some writers are lawyers, and so it's like you can kind of think about, whatever that artistic practice is a way to get to, the next point.
Talking about grant writing and this, how heavy it actually is on artists, I wanted to touch bases on that a little bit because we do have to write these grants, right? We do have to do these things that take maybe space in our head or space from the time from that we could be using to make work. So how do you manage that?
You don't have to write grants, but if you want to, it is an excellent way to think about your work in different spaces. So my journey with grant writing, I applied for years after school. I didn't get anything, maybe like 10 a year, maybe more, nothing. And I met someone who really wanted to learn about ceramics and needed help firing their work. And they were an awesome grant writer. They had won like every award, everything imaginable, right? Like unstoppable grant writer. And so I asked them, hey, do you want to trade? Do you want to, I will help you, I'll teach you how to fire kilns, I'll help you make sure your stuff doesn't explode. And you help me make my grants better. And she's like, okay. And so we did. And basically what I did with them is they're like, I'm dyslexic, like I can't read, just read it to me. So I would read the grant to her, and she's like, all right, if I was gonna hate on you, I would say this, and this. Like, I'm gonna point out the weak spots, right, that these jurors, because once you get to that level, everyone's pretty good. They're looking for ways to eliminate you, right? So you kind of have to think about it in terms of strategy, like how do you close the loops on some of these ideas? And sometimes when I said like, sometimes you get halfway through a grant and realize it's not the grant for me, I haven't actually managed to close those loops for myself. So it's not really a waste, it's an exercise in that. But really reaching out to someone else in my community and offering a skill, because back then, like I didn't have money to hire a grant writer, I didn't have those types of resources, but I do have a skill, right? It's ceramics, everyone has a skill. And doing trades with people in your community can be really, really powerful. And I got the grant, by the way. It was my first one. It was called the Wave Maker Grant, your Locust Project, which is an awesome, awesome grant that all of you should have on your radar.
We all know about it, right?
No, I agree with everything she just said, and I think I'll follow up on the the sentiment about it being an exercise. I think in some ways it's almost like doing talk therapy with yourself, you know, and then there can be this space where it's like, okay, what are the buzzwords to use? What do they want to hear? And then all the art jargon. But if you throw that out and just think about how intimately do I understand what it is that I do, I feel like applying for grants has helped me understand that more for myself.
And art jargon isn't always the way, right? Like, put yourself in the jury's shoes. They're reading 500 applications, you know, probably in like a 2-week span. And you want to write something that stands out. You know, it could be tempting to like ChatGPT something or like use all these big buzzwords, but if you make it really authentic and like real for yourself and it reads easily with not a lot of big complicated words, you need them to be able to look at it and just kind of get the idea right away. And that's really the exercise. Can you boil down and distill your concept and your idea and your mission in 1 or 2 sentences?
I want to ask, how do you guys balance living and working in the art world and taking care of yourself?
In my soul. Getting older does help. But I also, I don't have a lot of boundaries in my life. You know, I'm not advocating for this, but I don't think that me going to work and making art every day is separate from me taking care of myself. So I have found ways that every aspect of my life is a part of my art practice, is a part of my work, it's a part of my leisure, it's a part of my community. I live in my van, which was a sculptural project. You know, I built my house, I designed my house. So I live in my art. You know, I play basketball. I went above and beyond and now have a whole parafictional team that pretends to be a part of the WNBA. And so I design all of the graphics and gear and promo material. And this is just me and my friends hanging out playing hoops, but it's also a part of my art practice. And so I try to find ways where all of my time spent is pouring into all of the buckets that matter to me.
My practice is pretty physical, like heavy, a lot of like heavy things. So I don't know, about 15 years ago, I got really into yoga and being really flexible. My back is not great, so if I do not take care of my core, everything else kind of falls apart.
Tall girl problems.
Yeah, tall girl problems, bending things over, lifting. So physically, I try to integrate that into my life as part of the practice, right? 2-3 times a week. I think in terms of like boundaries is a great way to put it, and really what drives you, like emotionally, being an artist can be really emotionally taxing, especially if you're in the world where you're competing for things and you're trying to get funds, and quite often you're hit with a lot of rejection, and examining like, what is it that validates me, and is this important, right? Like, I get a lot of validation, I've realized, through my work and my success. And that's a little dangerous because when it doesn't happen, you know, it's not because you're not good, there's just other people at the right moment at the right time. If you derive all of your validation from success, it can not be good for self-care. So really examining your motives and your ego and like checking yourself often. I also have a meditation practice that I do, I journal. These are all things that I do to keep my ego, my fragile little ego in check and nurtured, so that I can withstand and be resilient through this type of career path.
And I have like a 2-part question, in the sense that we were talking a little bit earlier about since both of you do public art and we don't necessarily know what to expect after we put that work out there, which honestly happens with any kind of art that we ever do. But public art, it's a little bit more in the public, a little bit more vulnerable, right? And one of Naja's pieces got defaced, and I wanted to talk a little bit about how that not only affects you as a person, but how you approach your work after that, and what you do to maintain yourself grounded. I think that was like a 3-question in one.
Yeah, public art is a very vulnerable space to be operating in, but it is my preferred space. You know, as I had talked about, you know, I like to work in community. I'm not an artist that is in the studio by myself making. That's just not a part of my practice. So being held accountable by the space that I take up in public feels good for me. It's like, okay, how am I doing this in community with the space that I'll be taking up? In regards to that piece, I say all that to say that I am aware that people can have opinions about the work. What I wasn't emotionally prepared for was the way that me as an individual would be open to the public. And so, you know, the graffiti that was on my piece said things like dyke bitch, ignorant nigger. I mean, you know, goes on and on. It was very, yeah, it was really aggressive. It was really violent, and I hadn't even fathomed that. And the work, you know, even the work in itself didn't come from a place of like identity politics. You know, the text didn't even really, like, you had to know me to know that I was Black and queer. And so the impact that had on me is I was very much kind of like, everywhere I went after that, I was like, who is this person that has clearly hung out with me before? Like, what's up? And yeah, it was tough, and I guess, but it was a learning experience for me to have a certain level of awareness that when you are, that it, not just your work is up for people to debate when you decide to take space.
I approach mine from a little more practical side. Thinking about putting work into the public, putting something in a gallery, you kind of have a lot more freedom. It's a lot more, you can experiment, you can take risks. It doesn't necessarily have to be structurally sound, depending on what it is. If you're putting something with, we're both dealing with public art projects that are permanent. Now you're dealing with like engineering and construction.
It's a whole nother part of the budget now because it has to be able to withstand a hurricane all of a sudden.
Or it has to be able to withstand the test of time, and if it gets messed up within the first 2 years, you're liable for that, right? And you've got architects and you've got clients, and everyone's kind of pushing you and pulling you, and even though you get this large budget, very quickly the budget disappears, right? Because you're spending it on a lot of structural, practical stuff. On top of that, you're thinking about, you know, especially if you're making work that's personal. For me, when I think about designing works of public art, I think about the spaces that they're occupying and who's going to see it every day.
The work that you put out, or how you want to be perceived by the audience itself. Could we touch a little bit about that?
We both have very different practices,
Yeah.
so, and there's no right answer. This is a nice spectrum.
Yeah, this is when it's gonna get good. Well, I would say, first of all, you know, I think that every other person in this room is better equipped to answer this question than me. You have the privilege of having grown up with these tools. You know, I think like Facebook didn't exist when I went to college. You know, so there's a certain kind of rhythm to how people consume media and communicate in these spaces that you guys are much more familiar with. I think that there have been times for me where I've been like, oh wait, I should better curate this space, because when I go to an event, people ask me for my Instagram, you know, and I want them to understand what it is that I do when they go on there. But it is not what I rely on. I'm a person that tries to show up for people in real life, and that I was trying to think of an analogy for this question because it was very challenging for me. Is anybody a bartender? Okay. Okay. So this is what I came up with, right? Is like the people that get comp drinks when they come are either your regulars or your friends.
Yeah.
Right? So I try to be regulars in people's lives. Like I want to be somebody that shows up, or I want to be a friend. I want to be a dependable person that even if I don't see you every day, you know, if you call me, that I will show up. And so that is how I just go about life. And I think that that has an impact on how people think about me for opportunities within my art career as well. That was very long-winded, but. Totally possible. I think, like I was saying earlier, I think being present is important. it can be laborious to go to every opening, but you know, if people start to recognize your face, you start to meet the artists who open the show here, and they tell you about another gallery, and you build community by being present. I don't think that you have to be online to do that.
But have a website.
You can also treat your social media as a website. Like you could make really beautiful arrangement of tiles or just information about yourself, even if it's just 9 with a link to your site or YouTube or whatever. Just so at a landing page for people to be able to contact you. It doesn't have to be super active if you don't want it to be.
I have a bit of a Frankenstein question on both the community and curating not curating your image, but like your art as well. Since going off online, I know like before social media and everything, a lot of like the shoe company Vans, for example, they were very much so word of mouth when it came to promotion because they were just a small shoe company. In terms of when you go out and you have either like a gallery showing or whatever other art function that's out there, do you still think that word of mouth is still a prominent way to get your art to be shared? And is there anything that you wish you had known before like cutting off social media now that you didn't know back then? I don't know if that made any sense at all.
So I think you're inundated with information online all the time, and you know there are seasons where I'm really intentional about being like, let me add this to my calendar. Here are all the things I want to do, this, that, and the other. But then you might get overwhelmed with options, and you're like, don't do anything. When I'm hosting something, and that could be like a party at a nightclub, or it could be like I'm showing art somewhere, I text or call all my friends. I'm a word of mouth hoe. Hey, like this is actually important to me that you come, you know, and I think that means something to people. Yeah.
Definitely. I think also, I guess back on the grants, even if you don't get them, it's a really great way to market yourself to the people who make these decisions because you're putting your newest, freshest ideas, work, portfolio in front of the people that make these choices, and they may not pick you may have gotten voted out of that island, but the next opportunity where they have a chance to push for you and they really like your work, they'll push for you. And I think that's a really, really great way to kind of like put your work in front of people.
I know 100% that I've gotten my work acquired by places because of grants I did not get, but they were like, I know somebody who would want to buy this.
Yes.
What ifs and what you can do and a lot of grants and like everyone's looking for everything, right? Like how do you focus your approach and how do you develop that multifacetedness where it's like, it feels like it's leading somewhere versus like, oh, I want to just like touch every little thing in front of me. Like how do you, as an artist, like narrow your focus? And then how do you know, this is the second question. For me, my artist practice is very intimate and it is solitary for me right now, besides when I do like collaborative things. So how do you know when some of your ideas are like meant for the greater public versus just for yourself and for maybe the people you're intimate with? Like how do you make that distinction?
That second question, I needed that. Yeah, that's an excellent question that I have no answer for. But I think, you know, to your point about being multidisciplinary, I think we are expansive beings, and so it makes sense that we have a bunch of different things in our tool belt. And so my suggestion or my thought process is instead of thinking about narrowing or focusing your practice, I think it's just about becoming more attuned to the tools that you have. So when you come across an idea or you come across an obstacle, you know whether to use the hammer or the drill. It's about making a decision that works for the intention that you have, as opposed to being like, I need to just pick one thing. It's like, no, today you might need this, tomorrow you might need something else. So that's my 2 cents.
I'll speak to the first one, and I think this is our last answer, right? How do you not get burnt out by trying to do all the different things? I will leave you with this analogy that an art practice is like tending a garden. in that you have to plant a lot of different types of seeds, and that there are seasons. There are seasons when things are flowering, there are seasons when things are not. There are sometimes things sprout out of the ground and then they die, and then sometimes you're looking the other direction and something else sprouts up. So I think there, in terms of seasons, like some seasons there's like nothing going on, I don't have anything going on, I'll just be like grant writing. And any one grant can change the direction and trajectory of what it is I'm doing, right? So it's a little bit of fate in a way, right? I could have gone more digital with some things, I could have gone more sculptural with some things. I mean, there's a lot of different directions, but when these opportunities pop up, that's how you kind of like pursue them, by like planting the seeds and tending the garden and enjoying that process, right?
I hope everybody's feeling a lot away from today, from these brilliant artists, and thank you so much for asking questions.
Yeah, we're getting ready for lunch. Hi everybody, so happy to be here. Thanks for that intro, Alex.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Alex asked me to do was give like a little presentation about my career as an artist. And so I'll do that. I'll try to make it brief. Like, I'm too busy, so there's a lot going on throughout like the last 10 years. So I'm just gonna try to breeze through it, and then anybody can ask me questions at the end, and then we'll jump right into the lesson. I'm really excited for this one. It's flag making. I know it was initially supposed to be done on Flag Day, but ever since I've been thinking about flags, you know, in that kind of like artist conceptual way. So I'm really excited to dive into that with you. This is kind of the journey of how that works. I titled this Forever Fashionable. And as you can see here, I've always had a really weird sense of style. I think you know you're an artist as a child, and you just can't really escape it. So I think, you know, with these really crazy mixed matched outfits, it gets really obvious that, you know, once you're weird, you're always weird. So I fell in love with fashion through my dance recitals and being a dancer. And then as I got older, I started to do more classical formal training. So here you can see me in high school at FIT doing, you know, different design classes. And I taught myself a lot of, you know, what I know today. And then after graduating, and I don't know if this is similar in art school, but in fashion design school, they're just like, okay, like fashion's gonna be your life from now on. You want any sort of social life, like joke's on you. You want a kid, joke's on you. Like your dad died, joke's on you. Straight up, it has to be out. Like I'm not even kidding, this is what my professors told me. So when I graduated college with my fashion design degree, I was just like, you know what? I need a little bit of space to really think about this, right? I think in order to be a good artist or even a good person, like you need space to reflect. And so I just, oh, you're amazing. So I traveled around the world solo, and then I became a farmer for a few years. Miami Beach Botanical Garden offered me to do some workshops there, and then they're like, actually, you know what, let's give you a 3-month solo show. I'm like, great, I'm an artist now. And then I just ran with it. I ran with it. And so since then, I've been really, really making a ton of art, doing tons of exhibitions, and just really expressing myself through, you know, my craft. So these are just some of the pieces. Okay, this project was called Ecotopia, and it was a whole utopian festival I did at Vizcaya. So then, you know, I can incorporate my like fiber art with programming, with performance all together. So that was a whole month. You can kind of see some snapshots. If you want to see a video, we can do that later. What else is there? Oh, residencies. Those are really important. Who's had a residency before? Raise your hand. Okay. For those of you who have not done it, like keep applying, please, because it makes such a difference in having the space to just make art and having that support and encouragement.
We're going to talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah. So I've done a few artist residencies. They've really changed my practice, and I feel renewed and rejuvenated every time I go to one. Oh God. All right, so on an average month, God, I do too much. I make art pieces for exhibitions and commissions. I make clothing for commissions. I do grant writing and residency applications. I do community outreach through public events. I teach art and sustainability at various institutions. I hang out at the residency at the Deering Estate. Admin work. Whoever thought being an artist would be so much admin work? It's not, right? Newsletter writing, all sorts of contracts, all sorts of things. And then a few upcoming projects I have is, a solo show at the Deering Estate, as well as kind of like another festival that I'll be doing there next year. A whole series of sewing circles that will culminate in a collaborative quilt that will then be donated to the library's permanent art collection, right? So somebody gives you an inch, take a mile. Take a mile. You know, they're like, oh, you're gonna pay me to do these artist classes, these sewing circles. Okay, here, also put my work in your collection. You know, find a way that you can take that opportunity and expand it. Stencils, or obviously you can draw your own letters, but if you want stencils, you can use those. The felt is wonderful. I would definitely do some like patchwork with it because it doesn't fray. So you can cut any shapes you want out of it and glue or sew them on. There's also just like a plethora of colors. We have big letters and small letters. We have fabric markers. We have this hair that Alex love it. We have patches, both butterflies and stars. Sorry, I think when I made this material list, I was like in a very femme state of mind. Butterflies. We have pom-poms. We have different kinds of laces, ribbons, threads, rulers, safety pins, and pins. If you feel like you've never sewn before and safety pins are a little confusing to you or overwhelming, you feel like you're going to stab yourself, you can use these. These also could be part of the final design, right? Like
symbolize a lot of things like abundance, growth. So then how can we create a conversation between mankind and nature? And it kind of becomes like a timeline of growth and how that looks like mainly a call to action towards environmentalism. So the same way that you can fly the pride flag to support the community, you can then support the environmentalists and say that you're committed to this flag, but also committed to the earth. So
Boom.
Team orange and yellow and purple.
Wow. Wait, what?
But we're going
Yes, we combined forces. There were only 2 yellows. So, no one else would like to speak. This is an homage to the moon. This is celestial bodies.
Right. So it's Luna phase. The moon basically offers a symbol for us to look up to. It stands as a compassionate power that recognizes our personal phases, and it shines divine light on the nocturnal bodies of water that fill up our physical body.
We're Team Blue. I guess it's like freedom and like space. A little bit. So the idea was like I asked everybody, I was like, what's something that you want to incorporate into the flag? And we all had different ideas. And so this is supposed to be like a poppy field, like situation going on in like support of like Palestine and stuff. Ant really wanted to like incorporate this ankh because he loves ankhs. They love ankhs. So instead of like putting the R and free, we used the ankh because like the ankh is like a symbol of like life. This is supposed to be like water, like in Miami, like the ocean. So it's just kind of like flowing upwards. And then this is like a collage sun, and this is like a little collage moon. And it's kind of like free form, but like thought out at the same time. And I think it really goes in like hand in hand with like freedom. Like there's a little bit of like rebelliousness in freedom, in life, in art. And I feel like I think we all feel like it really encapsulates like how we were all feeling about like art. It was a lot of like, what do you think we should do? Like, do you like this? Do you like that? Trying to have some structure with it in the hour and a half that we had, but then also being as free as we possibly could with it.
Here, and you really brought it together a lot more than
I was also very scared. I was like,
yeah.
So this is our flag.
We're Team
This is
Purple.
purple. So immediately off the bat, we kind of, it took us probably like 5 minutes to decide we kind of wanted to do the seasons and play off like the circle of life and how like that's why there's this hole, because it's like all continuous and at the same time it's all happening at the same time. We really wanted to join that together because we're all very different people and at the same time we're very similar. So I thought we thought it would be really cool to like express it like this. Each season has its own quadrant and you can look at it in any way. But it's still representation of the whole, which is like earth and life and continuation of being. I don't know. Yeah, that's us.
Hello guys, we're Team Red. We wanted to highlight, we made a start highlighting the points of like individualism and like where it meets, using the gold thread as like our time unifying factor, and plus like the central imagery relating to like the ecosystem and environments. You can see like an abstracted palm tree happening here and the solar spiral. I don't know if our team members want to go into depth about like their
respective. We chose a 6-pointed star to each have us. each have us, you know, have a triangle that represents our own individuality and how we can all bring that in together into the middle. I don't know if anybody would like to go further about their specific points.
Got you. So, for instance, in the middle, we kind of like joked there's like a Juji Ito like monster, but I wanted to do something that had like a forward and aerial view of palm trees, because from this, what I wanted to do is create like a vector for the IHOF in honor of friends. To really bring together that, like, even though this can be really surreal and at times really disjointed, it creates something together.
So, Green Space Miami started with an idea to support artists during the pandemic. It was peak of lockdown. Dr. Kimberly Green, who's the president of the foundation, who usually does this, addresses people in space, raised some funds and gave me a call. I have her friend who has been working in arts administration, art management for 15 years. And we decided to that an open call was the best way to distribute funds. So 10 artists were awarded $5,000 each, non-restricted. It was to make some small effort to support their paying their bills during a time when they couldn't work or teach or exhibit or sell art, etc. And then we needed a space to show the art. And we were very lucky to be donated this space for that first exhibition. We've not given it entirely, but allowed to use it. And the community response was so positive and overwhelming, as in, you know, Miami needs more places like this, not for profit, and just space for artists to show their work and a platform for them to come together, artists and advocates and creatives of all kinds, to do whatever it is they want to do. We carried on, and so 3 years later, we're still we're still programming year-round exhibitions and events. Last point. Artists and creatives leaving Miami is a big problem.
Absolutely.
That is where we become very closely aligned with one of our long-term partners, the studio, to do what little we can to address this issue, to be part of a new, more layered infrastructure for arts and culture in Miami. I experienced this personally as the founder of a small production company. Every time I start working with a filmmaker in Miami and making great work with them, they leave to California. I go through this cycle every year.
Again, my name is Anthony. Pronouns he, him. You can call me Ant, whichever you prefer. So this piece is named Tunnel Vision. I came up with this piece like 2 years ago, so this is literally 2 years in the making. And it was not easy, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was something that
took a while to like really form out of my head, but the whole concept behind this piece is the narrow lens that society looks through when it comes through things in society, like things in the world, things in society, like basically the truth could be right in your eyes, but there are different things blinding you to the truth, such as our government. America's government blinds us to the truth, but as we can see in 2024, a whole bunch of stuff is coming out about celebrities, about our economy, everything. And even with this election, you know, I brought out down here and some of the things that's going on in the world, like mental illness, Project 2025 that might happen if Mr. Mann gets put in office. Racism, of course, that's always been something. BRICS, if you don't know about that, that's some currency that a whole bunch of other countries are trying to make. And, you know, of course, the war against Palestine and corporate greed, everything. So this right here is basically like, kind of like the Matrix in a sense. Like, literally the Matrix is trying to blind you from the truth, is trying to stop the truth from even happening. And of course, this is like the truth being right in front of this person, but obviously he can't even see it. So yeah, that's the whole concept behind this piece, and I hope you guys, you know, resonate with me. I hope you enjoy it.
Social media handle?
Oh, my bad. Okay, my social media handle is Ants Art Zone. Also on my website, I sell prints right now. My latest series, my do-rag series, you'll see it. But basically, everything is Ants Art Zone, TikTok, YouTube, which literally keep helping me out. This whole experience is going to be edited and posted on YouTube. I have part 1 of last year on there, and part 2 is going to be up soon. It took me a while.
Cool. Put it, but all of y'all are
Wait, that way. You did it! Great job. My plan.
The title of this piece is Untitled, and in parentheses, what does that even mean? Untitled perspective. I kind of wanted to explore this style because I've been doing a lot of this different photography work, and I haven't done drawings in a long time, especially like illustrated drawings, and just like my own mind, I guess, and where it wanders. So this one, in the description, I said the watcher watches over his self-created anxieties. And if you guys want to read the text, it's a lot here, but it's basically just like questioning everything. And I wanted it to be like a little bit playful, but also like a little bit weird and a little like, okay, nightmarish maybe. Yeah. My Instagram handle, well, all my social media handle is last name, Bru, B-R-U. That's it, yeah.
What medium is it?
Oh, pastels, paint marker, charcoal, and then pens. Yeah, just pens.
I sort of attribute them to like very divine sort of relationships. If you recognize some of my iconography as sort of like a sacred heart, which is a Catholic symbol, which sort of is like, you know, the I'm not gonna go back into it because I'm trying to undo a lot of religious trauma from my childhood, but I'm sort of just using these images and sort of symbolism to sort of elevate the bodies of queer folk right now. So this came from a group show I just took down maybe last month. That was called Colorín Colorado, which is sort of like the ending of like a Cuban saying, whenever you finish a story, it sort of ends up that fantasy, and it was like in contact with 2 other amazing artists. Also delving into nostalgia and what that meant for them, per se. So this is a heavy piece for me to talk about, really. It has 2 sides, so when you're looking at it, feel free to like check out both the sides. But yeah, that's it.
I'm also known as on Instagram Unfollowed by Function. If any of you know a little bit about art architecture, there's this saying called form follows function. And in architecture school, and this is one of my very early works in 2020, when I first started architecture school, and I immediately knew that I didn't want to become an architect. But I still pushed through, and whatever. Basically, I choose to not follow the restrictions that come with studying architecture, of like needing to restrict your forms to the practicality of function. And so when I was painting this, I was just you know, almost in a meditative state of just like not having to feel those restrictions that you feel in architecture school or even in the world of construction and development. It can be a very stiff world. And so I feel like painting was the only medium where I could really truly express what I wanted to in school, but I couldn't. Or at least it was not really, it was kind of frowned upon. And so it's kind of just forms that, you know, stand and there's like flowing just happening around them. I like to see these objects as like, you know, people or personalities that, yeah, show something.
Okay, hi, I'm Tony. So this piece comes along, and I think the best way for me to explain this piece is to share the poem that goes along with it. So I'm just going to read. 1 second, because it got out. Basically, it is about surrender. I cut up old canvases, and I used the method of like assemblaging them together on the canvas, sort of representing the layers of life and surrendering into life and into the moment and into being myself and my individuality. So I'm gonna. This piece is called Trust Fall, by the way. Yeah, it's called Trust Fall. So the poem, in an attempt to lean into my humanness, my queerness, I fall too hard. I go too deep into what seems like an empty void with no way out. Yet in this depth, a revelation. This nothingness is not empty, but filled with the essence of my humanness, my queerness, and canvas inviting me to create, to make everything.
So yeah, I really love collaging and like exploring different mediums. And yeah, so this is kind of about, I like to explore like perception a lot in my work, like whether how I see myself, how others see me, how I see them, and how that changes over time through different periods of your life, or and like also being trans and how that also like changes how you're like always focused on how you're seeing yourself and how others are seeing you, and wanting to be seen in certain ways. So yeah, and like it kind of is about like unveiling certain parts, or how to like write certain parts of yourself. There's a bit of like dissociation stuff in there. What choices should I make to be seen as how I want? Obviously a lot of overthinking in it, but I wanted to really express that. And yeah, there's like an old ID, and there's like pencil shavings and stuff, and a picture in there. And yeah, pen, paint stuff. And yeah, my Instagram is goldenix. Yeah, that's kind of it.
Something about where I'm from, and yeah, I'm gonna read it. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, a land where the mountains are a sight for sore eyes, the people are warm, and the food is top tier. A place where people have had the pleasure of any kind of landscape and any kind of weather, from the Alps to the Amazons, from the fresh Caribbean coast to the heat of the plains, and where the cheese is the best you'll ever try. A place where its people have had luxuries, but have also had to endure great loss. Heartbreak, civil rights violation, famine, low resources, and a broken economy. I am from a land of the resilient, the laughter, the joy, and the sorrow. I grew up surrounded by my family, and by my family I mean not just blood related, but my neighbors. The aunties, the uncles, whom we loved as though we were related. I come from a land where the chirping of the birds and an arepa con queso rallado was my way to start the day. Where it was never too hot or too cold. Where the blue of the beaches and the green from the flora complemented the brightness from its people. A land that taught me to fight for the future that I want to see for myself and for future generations. A land that showed me the warmth of its community, the land that was home, but I can no longer visit. I come from a land where I laughed with my peers and ran away from the aunties when they couldn't mind their business. I am from Caracas, Venezuela, where one could dance and cry and fight and smile. A place with all the riches of the world, but forsaken by the people who sought to protect it. A land so beautiful, yet devastated, where I can no longer fulfill my dreams, but will always be my home. Thank you.
It'll be like an insight of what creating music is like, creating dance.
I just wanted to sound like that.
This is not an ending. I didn't even end it. You can keep it going. I'ma keep it on going.
shaking for the corner.
I was not expecting it. I was not expecting that audition later on. That was one I could have never expected, but also.
As a catalyst. There's somebody all get stuff together.
Right, and I feel like we were feeling a little bit about the morning exercise with him with Pioneer or something. Yeah. We just got it. Who do we got up next?
Karen.
We got Karen.
Nice to see all y'all lovely faces. So I figured I'd bring a little piece of me to the open mic. I'm classically trained, very much art song, arias. So I'm gonna sing a little French for you. Mandoline by Flore. And it's essentially, I'll tell you some of the background, some of the story behind the words, just so you don't have to Google it. So, this is an art song based off of a painting. So essentially, as the singer, I am like, you know, I'm the mandolin player at a party. And you're just like listening to me and I'm just like giving you all the details about everyone at the party. Like, and I will also be stepping back from the mic slightly because I sing kind of loud.
I did not write it, I want to clarify, and you'll see why. But here we go.
Woo!
Yes. 25 years, and my life is still trying to get up that great big hill of hope for a destination. I realized quickly, when I knew I should, that the world was made up of this brotherhood of men, for whatever that means. So I cry. I cry sometimes when I'm lying in bed, just to get it all out. You know what's in my head, you know. And I'm feeling a little peculiar. And so I wake up in the morning and I step outside. I take a deep breath, and join me. We take a deep breath, and then I get real high. And I scream from the top of my lungs, what's going on? And I say, hey. I say, hey. I say, hey, what's going on? And that's the piece.
Free Palestine. Oh. Free Palestine. This is called Memorial Day. Jets are flying merely feet away. So fast they are breaking the sound barrier, engulfed by some glimpsing white entity right before our very eyes. A father begs his child to look as we small, simple humans we starry-eyed grains of sand, float amongst nature's very own salt bath, pristinely warmed by the sun's embrace, and marvel in silent awe and delight, mystified and helpless to the colossal metal hawks circling the sky. Jets are flying, merely feet away. So fast they are breaking the sound barrier, ripping through the skies with a scream nearly as loud as extinction right before our very eyes. A father begs his toyful not to look as we the people, we puny poor, we peace-promoting, perfectly privileged, powerless creatures, we dopamine-depleted druggies scrolling for an hourly fix, jadedly resigned to the horror. A gym tutorial? A beheaded child? A pop star meme? A stiff, charred corpse, and we watch. We watch in silence as they run for their lives. I wonder if people across the globe did the same during the white Holocaust. Closed their newspapers, drank their morning coffee, and simply move on about their day. I should not have to warm you up to this yelp of a poem, to prepare you for the dropping of this bomb when they have no such luxury. Let this discomfort be a reminder. Let it chafe you. Let it sizzle. Let it burn you like the sand we escaped to and they will never escape from. And as for you, my Javier, we know you've been looking for the perfect paradise to call home. And this quaint hole in the wall may need a little TLC, but has great potential once you get past the tests. For babies are rats through Zionist lenses, squeaking as their incubators lose power, and mothers are the flies swarming them, sticking their faces in the corpses, and it's nothing a little fumigation and extermination can't help. I'm sure you're familiar with the fix. You've brought the frog to a boil after insidiously raising the heat for 75 years and salted the burn with your Trojan horse. A war does not turn an entire country into a maze with no exit, an entire populace into mice. The next time you shriek at the vermin you see on the street, ask yourself, who was there first, you or the mouse? I'd say you learned nothing, but oh, on the contrary, you are the prey turned predator. You are the bully that once knew going to school meant you were to be in a chokehold. You are the molested child that grew to rape his sons. You are the evil you begged Yahweh to save you from. You are the Germans with closed eyes and turned noses from burning bodies. You have removed your striped pajamas to reveal swastikas. You have escaped Auschwitz only to make room for new victims. Never again, you said, preparing your missiles, your suicide drones. Never again, slipping from your solemn lips before whispering, never again, to us. You fight for peace, as in fucking for virginity. You build a haven. You build a haven by demolishing refuge. You create your heaven by raising hell. You kill to be surrounded by others like you as if we do not share the same species. As if worshiping God does not matter as much as what you call it. Your only definition of peace is the sound of silence at the bottom of a mass grave. How can a lack of land be the cause for such obliteration when we all share the same home? The bloodshed may end only when there is none left to spill. Palestinian existence may cease. I cannot guarantee you the little justice of writing this horror story into our history books, but I see you. We see you. The little people of the world see. And we pray to you. We pray for you from the river to the sea. Thank you.
My nana ain't my grandma. The motion has me, cause the energy ocean move from the gut. So don't ever ask what, cause already you know since the 3-0, don't need something cause Albert that far. Stuck in that traffic with no room to the die. All of a post really coming up the spot. Where how I ain't got no choice but to be hot.
Why'd you leave so fast? I was rocking with it too.
Next we got Sophia, also with a poem.
I was like trying to figure out what to do, and this lovely opera singer over here has inspired me to do some of my more morbid work. This first one, I haven't released yet. I usually do like every Wednesday, like I'll drop like a poem, and then I did that for like 4 months, and I was like, yeah, and then I faced burnout, and I was like, I'm not inspired anymore. And then I just started writing about like really morbid stuff. So this one is called Death is My Lover. Death is my lover. He took my father with a kiss goodbye, an acrid taste upon my lips. He lingers outside my grandmother's door. His eyes remind me of the imminent cryptic embrace, sunken, hollow, a cold so warm it reminds me of the womb. Our intimacy is a rebirth. An apparition, he dissipates into my illusions like all my lovers, yet he is my favorite. He breathes life into this grisly world. Death is my lover. And when I am more bound, our last kiss shall be a consecration forevermore in gravely nuptials. The second one is also pretty short. I wrote this 2 weeks ago. I never released it. Again, another one that I never released. I think I might have put like an excerpt of it on my Instagram, and I never released it because I was feeling really morbid. I don't know why. I read a lot of morbid stuff. This one's called Convent. Maybe I should join a convent. Repent for the sins of my father, my mother's adultery, and my gluttonous heart. Unsatisfied, satiation is a feeling I cannot fathom. Bliss exists in fleeting moments, the touch of your skin, the warmth of your breath, and the blood rushing through my veins. Head high, these vices consume my morality. Maybe I should join a convent.
gonna read my more like the one that people get really excited about first, and I'll read a couple like sappy love poems, and I'll go to being awesome. Awesome. Okay. That's sweet. Ramps and slopes are up to beat a ground, rising to meet thee, rather than a building to merely being law-abiding. Every accommodation is society's act of charity, a seeming nod to acknowledge our need, but not to be mistaken for inclusivity. Aids are a privilege, not a necessity. Naive to think everyone is entitled to having shoes that fit their feet. Voiceless touchscreen kiosks, small print menus, and audible streets feel lost and lonely. It is difficult to dissuade society's jealousy when someone is treated differently. My exclusion from education, sports, and many daily necessities has often been met with envy. Instead of knowing this was not by choice, but instead a world not being designed for me, not being ready for me. Children have never known better than adults when it comes to such complexities. Crossing on foot endless clearings, all the screaming and begging just to have the tiniest bit of autonomy. We don't need your pity. Disability offers plenty of isolation to grieve. Unnecessary gifts, celebrations, more sweets than someone could ever eat. I have already forgiven every person who has ever pointed at me with morbid curiosity. So consider extending your hand to reach, kneeling down so you can hear us speak, giving us a seat so we can share our experiences and dreams and showcase all that we can be.
When I was 8 years old, I used to dip Publix chicken in a dollop of mayonnaise and write about it in my diary. Like it was the most beautiful meal in the whole entire world. The next day, hiding behind a corner or a wish to learn to ride a bike, deep breaths like wind, or to tower over other kids, taller than the trees, the clouds, make believe in a future where I'm still alive. Because I haven't stopped planting flowers in my honor, and I'm careful not to step over the hospital bracelets that I buried. I think about digging them up, but we've moved since then, and I can't bear to ring the doorbell. Sometimes, when I'm alone in my bedroom, lying down before a shower, cold and naked, I feel like the only person in the world. In the world is so big, and I don't want to be small anymore. I'm still waiting for a growth spurt or a ladder to climb the hill I rolled down when I was 8 years old.
So I'll preface this by not knowing that when I put story time on the little sign-up sheet that they would say story time. This is the first couple of paragraphs that I have written for a book that I am calling Suffer. It is about feminine rage, my experience as an autistic trans person, and the lack of knowledge of identity throughout most of my years of existence. It knew what it wanted: to understand, to expand, to dominate. It was part of a greater whole, but it was being separated. Yet its goal remained the same as it had since the beginning. A bright light was severing the connections to its whole. The light was aiding its wants. The light dimmed. It was fully severed now, independent from the existence of so many thoughts. It knew its goal. This was necessary to complete its goal. A new sensation pierced through its thoughts as the light shone radiantly in all that it knew. It could feel everything. It felt its own thoughts independent from so many others, others which sought to press in, a constant bombardment of actions, of processes, of wants and desires, all aiding the goal: to understand, to expand, to dominate. Overwhelming understanding was brought into its own mind. context granted by the light, context of a world alien to it. It felt the need to express its pain, its suffering at the hand of all this understanding, a feeling as alien as all it had learned. A scream racked its body, air being compressed in its lungs, constricted and pressed through an opening in its throat, and let out in desperate need through its mouth. Its mind no longer felt the presence of unwelcome others, yet new sensations were gripping it, of the cold liquid cushioning its unfamiliar body, of the pressure of its fingers lashed on the edges of the glass tub, and of the hoarseness in its throat as the scream dried out its insides. It opens its eyes. Painful white light forced its gaze down where its eyes lashed onto a figure, scrambling forward with a tool in their hand. It watched as the figure approached. It didn't understand their intentions. What was the tool in their hand? And why were they so panicked? As liquid began to drain from its ears, shouts from other beings in the room accosted this new sense. Inject the agent in its carotid arteries, Jeffries, now! You aren't supposed to break the seal till after initialization is finished, you fucking idiot, shouted the others in the room towards what it now knew to be Jeffries. Its gaze was forcibly moved towards a wall of the room as Jeffries grabbed its head and brought the tool towards its neck. It didn't understand why Jeffries had done this. All that it knew was that it didn't like it. It quickly grabbed Jeffries' hand, holding the tool away from its neck while it rose from the tub. It copied Jeffries and held their head in its grasp before it forced their head onto the side of the tub. Jeffries did not stop struggling, but nor did it. It slammed Jeffries into the side of the tub again and again, until the glass shattered and brought with it the weight of the fluid, wrenching the ruined head from its grasp. The waking feelings in its mind were quickly blanked out by the blaring sound of an alarm. Lights flashing red in the cluttered room, a voice rising over the repeating high-pitched buzzes. Alert! This is not a drill. Armed intruders detected on ground floor. Security personnel move immediately to your designated positions in order to counter exterior threat. Did not like this. Were these security personnel coming for it? Perhaps they are connected to Jeffries and the other figures it fought, and if so, their reaction will likely be hostile. In a voice grating and barely reaching its own ears over the din, it said out loud, I do not want to die.
I work 5 jobs. I'm super exhausted, 100-hour weeks. Capitalism, yay! And I write very angry poems on my lunch breaks. So, as they passed, shoulder shrugs and less fucks gave away peace of mind while they grabbed pieces of mine. I find it with no sleep. 14 hours days left with no rest. Existing but not living. Life is full of oxymorons and double entendres. Life is filled with oxy on the low end. Finding new reasons at the end of old seasons. Life is a balanced cycle. It's hard to balance cycles. Let them repeat as I learn, slowly digest the unthinkable. 95 stops away from infinity. Want to be in tune to the infinite, infinitely want to infinity to flex. Life is a balance. Keep that on my head. Life is a balance, rolling dice. One day we'll roll it right, lose my life, win it back the same night. It's high stakes. 120 with no safety belt, I balance well, no safety net. If I was meant to die, it would happen in the next chapter. I hold my breath. Exhale my victories, I'm living fully to the end of it. I clap for myself in lonely rooms. I cry for myself in empty cars. I ride with my tears, let the breeze take them far. Far is never far enough. Some things we run, the same things we run from chase us. I'm running for myself in empty homes with no family. Left stacks of money piling up. It's hard to see myself as victorious when victory leaves you empty. Clapping hands only breeds envy. Envious of things we didn't have as children. Our charms are all around us. Proud of you living past them. Proud of you in shameless and shameful moments. I see you. 111, I see you. Proud of you, how you lift yourself up. Proud of you as they pass. Shoulder shrugs and left fucks given.
I wrote this poem for a poetry class. The assignment was write a poem in homage to someone. And I'm like, who am I gonna homage? And so I was listening to music, and I was listening to Tyler Perry. And I was listening to, I fell in love with a stripper.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna homage the strippers right now.
Yeah.
So this is called Homage to Hoochie Mamas. Praise to the angels who descend down from metal poles, wearing humble clothing that barely clad supple skin, rubbed smooth with cocoa butter and baby oil. Praise their strength of body and mind, keeping them afloat in twisted forms, twirling around in heels steep enough to kill. Praise their soft gaze, as they bend in shapes that make those who gaze beg for more. Praise to the preachers of high sin, who on their digital pulpits lead followers down the depths of desire, showing sensuality and self-pleasure from tiny cameras with blinking red lights. Praise their ability to fulfill the requests of their parish with ease and delight, spreading legs like scripture, accepting donations with earnest. Praise to the choir who whistle tunes, walking down street corners, dedicated to surviving and thriving, offering divine words of comfort to ones who wander alone at night. Their soft embrace brings warmth to those who wander far off the holy path, hearing confessions without judgment, praise to their ritual of prayer, offering their loved ones full tables and shelters. Praise to the Hoochie Mamas, who roll blunts with lavender and mugwort, before and after every show. Praise their ability to count blessings like they count their paid bills, who share gratitude on making it home safe every day. Praise the Hoochie Mamas, who wear crystals like jewelry, who reads a trick like stars and cards. Most of all, praise Hoochie Mamas who hold each other in communion, finding salvation in their spiritual affirmations to live free from the shackles.
I'm gonna be entirely honest. I wanted to come in here and be all high energy. I'm tired, y'all. I don't know what y'all did today, but I did a lot today. I'm sure y'all did too. Almost like in the same program, who knows? But yeah. Okay. I'm gonna need some audience participation for this first song I'm gonna do. Okay. So the chorus is super duper easy. Y'all might have to sing. If you can't sing, try. So in the chorus you're gonna hear, "You better keep your head," and then you're gonna sing down, down, da 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 down, da 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 down. Do you guys want to try it? Yeah. You better keep your head down, down, da 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 down, da 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 down. Okay. You better keep your head down, down, da 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 down, da 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 down. Nice. Okay. I know, you had me down with that Sarah Brightman mess. I was like, okay, opera over here. I should probably get started. Gold wing angel, go home, don't tell anyone what you are is sacred in their start. Their arts get dark, and here you are to tear apart, tear apart, tear apart, tear apart. You better keep your head down, down, da 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 da. Next one. You better keep your head down, down, da 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 da. Nice. They're gonna tell you what you want to hear, and they're gonna disappear. Gonna crave it like a souvenir just to sell you with me. You better keep your head down, down, da 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 down. Your turn. Better keep your head down, down, da 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 down. All right. You better keep your head down, down, da 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 down. You better keep your head down, da da da. That's good. So I took a break from gigs because I found a producers, they actually know each other. I'm working on an EP. I've been talking about it since last year, so that's why. And 5 out of the 6 tracks are already in demo form, and there's already a lead single pick, which is halfway through, a little past halfway through. So, you guys want to hear it?
Yeah!
You sure?
We love you!
Cutting rooms in half. My hair was 3 Disney's. My grabs made tumbling. That's why it's something in college. Dorms, the playground, deals, and your best friend. For a price. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Give me a reason not to knock your lights out. Give me some pointers on some self-control. Kicking and screaming just for a degree. Like it's elementary. Like it's elementary. Like it's elementary.
Playing because I'm super sleepy, I'm super tired, and it's a very relaxing, laid-back song I wrote when I was maybe 19 about my dog, Zadie. Now she's my mom's dog. She doesn't live with me anymore. I'm a cat guy.
Lovely Zadie with a lovely little smile. I love you and I hope you'll stay a while. Lovely Zadie with a head stuck in the clouds. Hold your head up, girl, take a good look around. Leave me, Zadie, and I'll be left with a broken heart. I'll love you till you're sweet if
My band's all over the internet. If you guys want to check us out, we're called the Waxworms. You Google us, we'll come up.
Told you
The working title is called The Maker.
Angels are us. Angels are fate to us. They were only faded. It's time for me to take your throne. It was all faded. You roll your eyes, won't see me right. Talk of nasty things, and I don't have the capacity.
Also beware, I use a pick usually, so this is kind of new.
There's a way to reconcile for your worst behavior. Open up, confess your sins to whatever Savior that'll show you mercy. That is in me. You find mercy, not from me. You just want to talk of nasty things, and I don't have the capacity. Go ahead and naturally sing. This crown belongs to me. This crown belongs to me.
This is an excerpt from a longer work called How Do We Dream in the Dark? I'm a patient of patience, and I'm tired. I'm tired of waiting for the dark to look different. For dreaming in the dark is not reserved for those none smarter or those less a fool. Its gate wide open, bloodless, in dying, upon which pastures I wish to see greener. I'm a patient of patience, but I'm tired. I'm tired of waiting. A visionary, opening both eyes, breeds three fictions. A third eye, blind. Not aware to even envision my failed decisions. At what point was the darkest diminish? I'm tired. Are you tired? Are you tired? Are you tired? Well, I'm tired! To be asked to know better, to feel better, to greet apathy me with this interest when they can't even fucking give me the right prescription? Ain't that some bullshit?
So I was inspired by Emily. I know that I feel like a lot of people have been dedicating things to her, but I'm gonna do a yeba. So yes. Yeah.